And talking about Elon, like he bought like that 9-10% stock in Twitter, and everyone was getting all uppity, and now like it sounds like they weren't going to let him on the board without like limiting him in some way,
Mm.
and so he just like put out an offer to buy the entire thing for like I forget what it was, like 45 billion or something.
Yeah, yeah. He just put an offer to buy it.
I don't think they'll accept.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Well, I think I saw a tweet already today that said they don't accept, but also somebody also tweeted that if you look into his financials, they doubt that he has the money to actually do it. But my question is, even if he could, what's his agenda? Like, is he trying to make Twitter work to better his image
Well, basically,
and push his agendas?
the only agenda he's announced is that he was trying to instate free speech because it's been an issue on the platform.
Yeah, but I feel like it's more than that.
Yeah, there's always.
I mean, he has such a huge audience on there anyway. I don't know what more he would gain out of
I
it.
don't feel like he's this altruistic guy that's just like, oh, I want to buy Twitter to make freer speech. I definitely feel like it's an agenda, control the narrative type.
But I've
type
seen
of
like a
move.
lot of people, like on the left, that seem offended that he's saying he's going to instate free speech, and I'm like, this seems weird. The only reason to be offended is because like people you don't like won't be silenced anymore. That's the only thing I understand.
I think it's more them being skeptical of him, like I am. More just thinking, I don't really buy the free speech angle, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, whenever somebody buys like a huge like social media piece, like before you speak newspapers, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and they would get bought up by like the Rupert Murdochs and stuff like that. So now it's just happening with these social media platforms too, and that's dangerous. That's scary because we've seen what it's led to in the past.
Yeah, it's so weird because I hear like, famous people complaining all the time about being censored on social media platforms. And so it's like, I mean, we've talked about this to death, but it's like, you'd think there'd be a marketplace for like a totally free speech app. But then, as we've talked about before, that's going to lead to shitheads being on there. And as soon as that happens,
I mean, you don't have to listen to anyone you don't want to, though, really.
well, I know that, but we all know as soon as that happens, all the major marketplaces that people actually use, Google, Apple, Amazon, they're gonna kowtow and not allow them to sell that app on their marketplace.
They have done that, but you think they're going to do that with Twitter and Elon?
Probably not Twitter because
Probably not.
but even if he bought it, I don't see him like, I don't know, fully opening it up and making it totally free speech.
I don't know. I mean, like I talked to you guys about it before, where I thought there was probably a hole in the market because of most of the major platforms were taking some form of censorship, and then like you said, Apple and Google shut down other sites that were basically going for a free speech angle. It's a little shaky, I always thought, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Free speech is dangerous. Like, then
See, I don't understand this. I mean, censoring people is dangerous.
you get the pedophiles come out. You get people who want to commit all kinds of crimes, talking to each other, forming groups.
I mean, if pedophiles want to out themselves, I'm not going to say I'm totally
I
disagree
mean,
with
if
that.
you create like a free speech, like, then they're protected, aren't they? Like,
The speech is protected, actions aren't protected.
yeah, but doesn't that leading to more pedophilia? Like more people like talking about it, making it an open conversation, like acceptable, and doesn't that lead to it becoming more of a problem?
I don't know, but the people being censored are on the other side of that fence, I think.
I mean, I don't think like somebody who's not a pedophile is gonna. It's like the legalizing drugs thing. I don't think someone who's not a pedophile is gonna be like all of a sudden be like, oh, I hear these guys talking, and now I'm thinking maybe. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a deeper psychological problem for those people.
Yeah, I can't imagine anyone going on there and not being attacked.
But at the same time,
Oh no, Reddit has a lot of like subculture where they talk about pedophilia and stuff like that on there.
I'm like him, where I'm like, the speech is protected, the actions are not. And I feel like these groups communicating online like this just make it easier for the police to catch the actions.
That's what I've wondered. I've kind of wondered, like, if social media Like, how many of them are actually like doing stuff like that, like trying to actively catch people? Because a lot of them do post something before they do something. They'll be like goodbye, or they'll post pictures of a bunch of guns and ammo, which isn't gonna rule out a lot of people in, like, say, our family, but if they find like red flags where they could actually try to predict some of that stuff.
But I mean,
I fear too much like what people are capable of when you unshackle them and you give them full freedom. Like, I think it'll be just chaos.
But when you start censoring people, then it's like, where does it end?
that's the thing. When the option is free speech or censorship, I'm always going to lead towards free speech.
I'm the opposite. I think people are, if you give them a chance, they'll do unlimited danger, like unlimited chaos. Like, you have to put a tap to it, or else it'll just go run amok.
But isn't that kind of the same debate between democracy and fascism?
Well, yeah, I mean, Stalin had his methods of.
Because you can say,
stopping people
oh,
from saying
democracy,
what they
given, ruled by the people, that could lead to chaos. And it's like, yeah, it could, but it's better than the alternative. And people would say, well, it depends. If you get a good leader, you might be better off. But it's like, yeah, but you might get Putin.
Yeah, but with democracy, you're leaving it up to everybody to decide what happens in society. And
Well, if
then
if you cut off the voices of 10% of those people, you've just altered that significantly, possibly.
Yeah, that sounds like a good thing. Like, who are these 10%?
Well, I mean, when it's your party doing the censoring, yeah, it sounds great. But what if
Yeah.
it's Trump's party?
That's what I'm worried about. See, like pedophilia, all this stuff.
You're enhancing the problem. Like,
No,
you're creating
because-
the system
but
that,
the problem-
that someone you don't like is going to abuse.
Wait, no, but that's if someone you don't like takes power. Like, that's like you're having.
Who was our president like a couple years ago?
Oh, that's true. But still,
And probably once in future president.
you hope with capitalism and with all this stuff, like the cream rises to the top. You hope it does, but
it doesn't.
yeah, it's true. That's what we see with democracy. It has kind of failed, actually. Democracy has kind of failed us. Like,
Yeah, but what's that saying? Democracy is messy, but it's better than the alternative. And I feel the same way about free speech. Yeah, it's messy, but it's better than the alternative.
I don't know about that. I mean, do you see pictures of people getting lynched and stuff in the 50s? And the alternative is like they would be alive, those black people. And like, if you didn't have this free speech where people could go out there and talk about lynching and go out there and like work together to like commit these crimes and atrocities, like if you could limit that, then it wouldn't happen. So
Wait,
much, right?
aren't you on like? Wait, I'm confused.
But, I mean,
Like, didn't you switch sides of the argument just now?
the lynching is illegal.
I mean,
No, I mean, it just became illegal.
thankfully we gave free speech to like Martin Luther King. Like, thankfully he could say what he wanted, and he wasn't like.
But that's not true. Like, he didn't have free speech. He got killed.
Well, he was killed, and he was. Yeah,
And he was like, he was
persecuted.
written in the papers like he was a bad guy. They did censor him a lot.
But at least he did have a voice.
But was
But
it censoring him a bad thing?
But I mean,
They
right
should
now
have
you're
censored him
saying-
even harder.
Right now, you're saying don't censor because the people in power have the power and they don't need to be censored. Because
If we would have censored hard enough, we wouldn't even remember those things.
I don't know. I feel like if you censor, then you stop those things from happening. Like you're trying to stop like people from, hey, let's go lynch this guy. Let's go work together to do this. Like
Basically, whoever's in power is going to try to silence the other party, for better or worse.
I mean, I don't know. There's too many examples of it going bad too. So I just think there need to be rules in place, and people need to be stopped from doing whatever they will do freely.
I'll also say this, like, I am by nature a pessimistic person,
Yeah, me too.
but I do think at the end of the day, even though it doesn't always seem like it because of like the news and stuff, I think there are more good people than bad, which is why
Sure, but if like one out of 100 is shitty, that's like 4 million people in the United States. It's still a gigantic number of people.
But what I'm saying is free speech, yeah, you're going to have that percentage of shitty people, but I think at the end of the day, because there are more good than bad, pro free speech.
Where are these numbers coming? Where are these more good than bad numbers? Like, we say that all the time, but I think there are like a number of atrocities that we don't even like discuss, like when we have like news reports and stuff about what's going on in America, a lot of people don't report what's going on to them. Like a lot of these atrocities are like swept under the rug. So how do we know people are good? I see people committing hate crimes and crimes against animals and rape and incest and all kinds, stealing, you name it.
Yeah.
Sure, but aren't there just as many good stories about the teachers saving their students and, and people rescuing
They just
dogs?
don't get aired as much.
Are there that many good stories of good?
I think there are. I mean,
News makes a lot more money on bad stories.
right. If it bleeds,
Social
it
media
leads,
as well.
right?
As well, yeah.
I don't know.
But no, I there's something like they estimate like 1% of people are psychopaths or something.
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
listen, the other thing, and it's complicated, but like I said, like I have relatives that hold political views that I can't disagree with stronger. But at the end of the day, like most of those people, because I know them, I still think they're good-hearted people. Like I still think at the end of the day, like even though like I disagree feverishly on them on a ton of issues, I'm like, they still like.
That's what everybody said about slavers. Like those same people had children who loved them. Those people had families and everything, but they still committed atrocities. Like people on a large scale are okay with doing the shittiest things to each other. Like I feel like somebody has to be checking us all the time, or else we'll just keep doing it. Like, yeah.
Well, the harder they check you, that's the worse the situations are.
But then that's like a who's watching the Watchmen type of thing, where it's like, okay, who gets to check? Who are we giving the power to check? And what rules are they using to put those checks on us?
If you consolidate power, then that's where you get the most tyranny.
So then what's a good system where nobody has, like...
Well,
leadership
if nobody has like a massive amount of control over the people, then, yeah, they're just more, they're more free basically.
Yeah,
I think the
But
depressing
you can't oppress them as easily.
I think the depressing answer is there's no perfect system. But like I was saying, like I'll always like lean towards free speech over censorship and always over democracy over fascism.
I'm the opposite.
I mean, if you look at
Well, you're not pro-fascism.
Well, I'm
though.
not pro-fascism, but I want some alien overlord to come here and help us live the society, like the life that we should live, like how we can all live peacefully and organized, and like somebody who actually knows like how to put in place a system where we don't go off the rails and kill each other and stuff.
But I mean, if you look at like Russia and China, where there's been extreme amounts of censorship, like the arts and just like the people are just like so downtrodden. There has been some great literature out of Russia, but yeah, I mean, where you could be killed for writing something is insane.
I mean, to be honest, that system kind of applies here too, just to people who are not white. Like, if you're black and you write something that's controversial, you're going to get the death threats. You might eventually get assassinated.
I mean, there's huge issues. I mean, if you look at someone like Julian Assange, who didn't even like write something, he just published something, is ridiculous. So I mean, there's some gigantic censorship issues going on.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, yeah. I don't trust people at all, man. I think they're capable, not just capable, but if given a choice, like, if a person...
So why give them power over you? Like, I don't trust you fuckers.
Because
here's some power to
instead
kill
of
me.
giving like 7 billion the power to do all of that at the same time, give one person who has like more sense.
More sense?
Hopefully,
Let's
one
go back to
person-
Trump. Let's go to Stalin. Let's go to Lenin.
That's
Let's go
because
to
the
General
idiots
Mao.
voted for him. Like that says a lot about democracy. I don't.
Well,
I don't
those
know
weren't all
what.
from democracy, but even democracy has brought in its fair share of idiots.
Yeah, so I don't know what system is better, but I don't trust people at all. I think people. We're still animals, We're still like barbaric animals. We're savages. Like we'll
Like, we need that savagery to keep them at bay.
to keep who at bay.
The bad guys.
We are the bad guys.
I'm not the bad guy.
Yeah, we are. We're
I'm
eating
not.
animals. We do all kinds. We're
Well, I don't
destroying
consider
the world.
I don't consider eating animals bad. Like,
We're destroying
I have
the
very few
world.
kids
We're destroying
eating
our
animals.
environment. Like everything we do is bad.
To be fair, though, and again, I'm a pessimistic person by nature. And yes, you're right. There's all sorts of savagery in the world. But if you look at history, we're much more civilized than we used to be.
You know how much war there was in the last century?
Yeah, we've been killing people at the same, like, it's not called wars, but we're still killing people at a pretty. We have more slavery now than we ever did.
Is that true?
Yeah,
Not in America.
yeah, maybe not in America, but in the world, yeah.
It kind of surprised me that America gets such a shitty rap over the slavery thing when we were kind of the pioneers of getting away from slavery, really.
No, Europe was like they helped us wean off of it.
You think so?
Yeah, they made sure, like, they didn't even support the South when the South was trying to fight for slavery. They
No,
supported
the
North.
Dutch and English colonies were still going, right?
I know they were trading with the South up until, like, Lincoln made it pretty clear that you're supporting, like, slave states right now. You're supporting, like, slavery. And so
Yeah,
they had
yeah,
to-
but I mean, even before that, going back as far as Jefferson, is like he had slaves, but he wrote against slavery,
Yeah.
where it was just such a gigantic problem, and it was so accepted basically everywhere in the world. Those are kind of like some of the first recorded documents of people.
But America gets a
starting
rap
to move
because,
away
like,
from it.
the Germans learned it from us, the South Africans learned it from, like,
It was everywhere, man.
yeah, but I mean, it was our methodology that was like,
There were slavers in Africa who sold to us.
what do you mean? Like, what slavery? What are you talking about?
There were already slavers there. We go and get slaves from them.
No, but we sold and did all kinds of things to those same people. Like, we still
Yeah.
were slavers. But, like, those people in Africa, like, even they were, like, what do you call it? Colonized eventually by the people they were trading with. So even they became slaves eventually.
Well, I could see that, but there were slaves even among their own people before that.
Oh, yeah, because they were invading each other and they knew that they had value. So they would just be like, all right,
Right.
we'll invade the next tribe and we'll.
But it was like
enslave them.
worldwide, just going back.
Mm-hmm.
There were slaves.
Yeah, but America has a rap for it because it transported millions of people here and made a whole entire country off of it. You know, like, they built the entire infrastructure of the country.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have that history,
That's why it has.
but we're not like worse than the rest of the world. I don't think.
It's documented very well in America. Like, you don't really see movies about England slaves and stuff.
I mean, England has so many terrible things. I mean, in India, in Africa, and
Yeah, but they don't
knows how many
share
places.
their history, or their history was before movies and stuff too.
what's interesting, they really don't kind of. I mean, in like those other places, like they'll have a bad rap for it, but like in America, we're just like, yeah, that's England. That's our big brother.
Yeah, because they're kind of like together. You know, they both did the same things.
Well, so many of us came from there, and we have heritage and
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, no, they're pretty bad,
They're kind of like two members of the same gang.
right?
Yeah.
Let me try to give another slant on us being more civilized than we used to be. Just think of this from like a civil rights kind of angle. So, you know, back go to 1950s, 1960s. Obviously, there's huge amounts of racism, there's segregation and everything. Civil Rights Act happens. Think of how much, like, and is there a lot of racism today still? Sure, we talk about it all the time. But as a society, we're so much less racist now than we
Yeah.
were then.
Definitely.
And then think about the gay
I
rights
think
issue.
openly we're less racist.
And then think about the gay rights issue. Yes, there's still a ton of homophobic pieces of shit. But look how quickly, like relatively quickly, you know, gays going from like totally ostracized from society to gay marriage being legal. Like that fight would happen a lot quicker than, you know, black people getting rights. And now look at the trans fight. And yes, there's some, you know, rubber banding and backsliding going on that now. But I feel like their fight for rights is coming along even faster than the fight for gay rights. Like, I do think, like, as a society, we've grown a ton just in the last, you know, 70 years or so.
I think parts of society have, like, become more progressive, but that part that's conservative, of course, wants to keep everything the way it was like 50 years ago.
Right.
100 years ago. So, I mean, I think half of our society is still in that sense that it should go back to the way it was, you know, make America great again.
The thing is like the changes occurred in like the younger people, and then it's just like it's all that's left is for baby boomers to die off, and it pretty much caps the seal on it.
I don't know. I feel like baby boomers have left their impression on the young. Like 50% of the youth, like they asked people who were like 10 to 14 who weren't even voters yet, like they were pretty much down the middle when it came to their political opinions.
Okay, but I mean, how many kids do you see acting racist? I mean, you do see it because
Oh,
kids, like the younger you are, like the worse people are about it sometimes. But
And you're more impressionable, like if your parents are racist or homophobic.
but if you
or
meet
whatever.
like a 90-year-old like Italian, like you might be incredibly racist. Like more than like kids are impressionable and stupid and then do stupid things. But
Yeah, I get the sense that people our age and younger are much more
yeah.
accepting of.
Like
You
if
know.
if I look at our family, like the level of my parents and like aunts and uncles and stuff, well, like we're definitely better on those fronts. But coming back to being civilized, like governments killed over like 200 million of their own people in the last century. So I mean I can't sign up for
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Aliens.
pe-
We need an alien overlord.
People are always going to be people, and it doesn't really matter.
People are
over
garbage,
time.
man. We're like shitty animals. We're gonna kill each other. We're gonna rape each other. We're gonna do this stuff no matter what. And
Yeah,
we're
it's
gonna
all
treat
gonna
the ones
repeat.
that we love nicely. That's what we do. The ones that we know. Oh, I've known you for a long time. I won't rape you. I like you. Okay, that's just humans, man. We're stupid like that. Like, I don't think we're gonna go out there and be like, hey, let's make this guy's life easier. I'll try to make my life a little bit harder to make his life easier. Maybe I'll make a choice where I have to do something to go out of my way to make somebody else's life easier. People aren't going to do that.
People do that.
People do that.
Yeah,
what
there
people
people
like?
do
What
that.
10% of people do that?
Yeah, and like 1% of people commit heinous crimes. Okay.
What? 1% of people commit heinous crimes?
Actually, it's less than that. But 1% of people are psychopaths, but not all psychopaths
okay,
commit
well,
crimes.
yeah, that's different. But heinous crime, like violent crimes in America, are like what? 1 in 5 people will experience a violent crime.
I mean, I'm surprised I haven't experienced one yet, but I don't know. I mean, the shitty people can really spread it around, I guess.
I don't know, man.
Like a small proportion of people
There are
create a
plen-
disproportionate amount of like violent crimes.
There are plenty of people who seem like good, decent people who just give them a chance, they'll prove you wrong. Like maybe you put them in a different scenario outside of their family and friends who know them as a good person, but people are often given a chance to do bad and they act on it.
And I'll also say this again, I'm a pessimistic person, but even in places of the world right now that, have cultures that we kind of find abhorrent, like, places in the Middle East that put gay people to death. And like most of it's like, of course, religion based. I think we won't see it in our lifetimes, but I think 100, 150 years, like people in Saudi Arabia will be having like the debates that, Republicans have now where like we want or people will be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't kill gays. Like I think you'll see a softening over the years.
They're probably
Well,
already
actually, it'll
having
take
the whole
forever, but-
conversation.
I mean, there were like the pictures of Israel where they're pretty well westernized at one point, like the 70s, and they totally backslid.
Yeah, Afghanistan. I saw the pictures of there in the 70s.
But like I think you will see a softening over time and a more progressive over
I
time.
think you'll see ups and downs.
Yeah, same thing happened. Look at Romans and Greeks; they were all pedophiles. They were very open and accepting of that. People change all over, like centuries later. Now,
Yeah,
they're-
some of those things are like, do we just believe this? Is it like really cultural, or is it just like a space and time?
yeah, space and
moral?
time.
Yeah.
Everything's momentary.
I mean, I don't know. There's always going to be that rubber banding you talk about, always. But what is it that Martin Luther quote about like the arc of humanity is long, but it bends towards justice, or what? I'm getting that wrong, but
I'm not sure.
I have not seen it. I don't know. I got to see people do more good, but I don't know. There's no way to see it. Like, yeah, you're right. The news just shows bad. Everywhere you look, you see bad.
I think that's one area also that social media. Well, I think it's a bit of an echo chamber where the crap rises to the top a lot of the times.
Yeah, like that's true. Like everything you see in the world, like event by event, like it seems like the worst events are the ones that get the most coverage. And then even on social media, like it's the worst people who get, the loudest.
Not that I don't also see like
I mostly
good stuff
see
on,
the
Twitter.
big boobs rise to the top.
That's what's really going to save humanity.
There is some positivity. You're right. There is some good.
There's
in
a
the
silver
world.
lining.
Maybe there is good.